what are your priorities in terms of teaching them skills, realizing that maybe individually they have a high appreciation of the game, but as a team player, baka dun sila nagkukulang. And how do you hope to hone their skills, not to be able to give them a chance, give them a ray of hope?
Yeah. I said that from the start that first we're going to focus on their individual skills to get it up to a higher level than where they were before. But, you know, in the end, and I had this big talk to the players yesterday, in the end, our only chance against that collegiate selection that we will play is if we play better team ball, because they're a selection. For sure, their talent level is so much higher, is going to be so much higher than our talent level will be. Their talent level, their experience, their size is going to be much higher than whatever we can hope to be. So our only chance really is to have better teamwork, because we practiced for, you know, for 6 weeks, and they'll maybe have a couple of practices. So that's our chance, is to be the better organized, the better team playing squad. So that's what I keep talking to them about day in and day out, and we do a lot of team building activities even outside the basketball court. And you know, within 8-9 days, we've formed really they've formed a very strong bond already. You can see it, the way they interact with each other. The problem is now that makes it very hard to cut. We just had to make our first cut a couple of days ago, and tears were flowing.
I can imagine. So now from 24, it's down to, is it 16 or 20?
We're down to 20 now.
Okay.
We played a tune-up today against the Trinity College, and we're going to cut, I think, another 4 on Monday or something.
Bring it down to 16.
That's going to be how it's going to be from here on in.
Coach, your experience with Gillis, many things, many lessons, both that you learned from the players and lessons that the players learned from you. How do you intend to bring that experience to the House of Rice so that your group of, well, originally 24, now 20, later on 16, and finally 12, so that they can become better players?
Yeah, I think that's the important thing. We understand that process of starting with a pool and then cutting it down, and then until you get the final team. So we understand what we're looking for. We understand the dynamics of it. I think that's the most important thing, number one. But number two, with Gilas in a national team environment, you're also dealing with people from different backgrounds. You know, we have our local, local born players. We have the ones who are foreign born, and we have a naturalized. So there's also a lot of different backgrounds and cultures that you have to merge. Same thing here. Here they're all Filipinos. They're all from such disparate, circumstances, and that's really the dynamic that we deal with. A lot of them now, their main problem is homesickness. Those who have been away, they haven't seen their pet. A lot of them are getting homesick. That's number one. So, so these issues that are kind of similar to what we had in Gilas.
What about exposure to Nike stars? Paul George. First of all, kilala ba nila si Paul George? Had they been watching NBA games enough to be able to know kung sino si Paul George? Alam natin, palagay ko naman, kilala nila si LeBron James na parating na, no? But what about Paul George? How did they react to him? If they didn't know him at first, siguro nakita nila live and in person, naglalaro na, nagdadunk na, nag-shoot ng 3-pointer, sasabihin nila, wow, ito pala ang player ng NBA.
I was surprised. They all knew Paul George.
Okay.
I mean, ang basketball talaga sa Pilipinas, everybody follows the PBA, NBA, Gilas, So they knew Paul George, and the value was really the inspiration and the motivation. And he talked about also going through adversity. He also talked about being, having a difficult time growing up. And he addressed some of the kids, especially those who were struggling with their self-esteem, and about that as well. Couple of our kids have been bullied their whole lives. So Paul George had very good words for them. So, yun ang malaking bagay talaga. The fact that, hey, here is a world-class athlete. He's an Olympic team member, national team member. He plays in NBA and all that. And he's here and he's talking to me. And, you know, so
And he had a rice story to tell.
he had a nice story to tell. So, it was just really driving home what the program is all about. Rice. Can you imagine? These kids would never have imagined that they could put a Nike uniform on, and then they would never have imagined having, you know, the 3 pairs of shoes, or being coached by the national team, former national team coach, and then now they're high-fiving and chest bumping with the NBA and training. Yeah, because even before the media event, we had a private training program with Paul George, a whole practice with him. So that was.
And what
really
about
special.
LeBron James? He's coming. He'll be exposed to these players, and the players will be exposed to him in turn. What kind of impact do you think a LeBron James will make?
It's going. Paul George was mostly, because it was very early in the program. In fact, he opened the program, the House of Rice. It was mostly about individual skills and individual work. With LeBron, he's going to arrive about barely 2 days before the final game. So by the time we're already very deep in team stuff, 5-on-5, strategy, game plans. So that's where LeBron is going to be involved in mostly 5-on-5 work and doing this and doing that with the team. That's going to be the problem, and that's going to be the plan for him. But then, more than Paul George, LeBron is what? He's simply the best player in the world, perhaps the best player ever. So, you know, that impact is again going to be invaluable to them, and just what's very important to them is their ability to interact. Okay, he's there, he's playing with it, but the interaction, you know, talking, giving a few words of advice, you know, giving a high five or a hey, good game or good pass or whatever. So those are the things that are.
And will LeBron be around during the game?
It's gonna be no, not I think not for the final game, but he's going to same thing. We're going to have a private practice session with him, and then the next day, Paul George had a media event. LeBron on the next day is going to have a consumer event. So big, everybody invited stuff. But unfortunately for the actual game, I think he has to. He won't be around anymore.